brief history of the book. I will start with a short paragraph just with that my father included in the introduction to the book. This book is fiction. It is the story of a human life, the life of a German Jew who lost one home in the land of his birth and who found another elsewhere after many internal and external struggles. My father was an unpretentious, friendly man with a wonderful sense of humor. He wrote the book in German, his native tongue, upon his retirement from Israel's external affairs. Shortly after the War of Independence in 1948, he was served to New York City as economic attaché and served from 1952 to 1959. Shortly after his return from the United States, he was sent as chargé d'affaires to Turkey, where he served for 5 years. He typed the book on a portable Remington typewriter on onion skin paper and gave a copy to my sister Daphne and me. Unfortunately, he died and did not live to see the book published. He died in 1974 in Tel Aviv at the age of 68. He always hoped his book would be translated into English for a wider readership, and never expected it to be published in Germany. However, it was published in its original language in Germany due to the efforts of my sister Daphne Levit. It was published by Buchgilde Gutenberg in 2002, and a second edition was printed in 2003, 28 and 29 years after his death. The book became a bestseller and is still selling on Amazon as Ein Mercedes im Sand. My sister Daphne Levit and I then translated the book into Hebrew so we could read it, and realized how very remarkable and unique it is. Years passed, we were busy with our lives and occupations, and 2 years ago, I decided to have the novel translated into English. And here it is, 47 years after my father passed away. It is now my great pleasure to read to you sections from the book to introduce Mercedes in the Mercedes in the Sand to you. And by the way, the book is available on Amazon and paperback and Kindle forms. And in the display case at the back, you can see the original onion skin, a manuscript he typed on his portable Remington, the 2 German editions, and the Hebrew translation, as well as some unique memorabilia saved by my grandfather in Berlin and my father in Palestine. This was a labor of love for me. People who read the novel of all ages loved it, and I hope it will be read by many more. So now it is my great pleasure to introduce to you a Mercedes in the Sand. I will read sections from the protagonist's early years in school in Berlin, later teen years in Berlin, and so on, and I will announce time and locations so you can follow along. This is a big and fascinating novel, and it was not easy to choose. Now, where's my book? Sorry.
She's got the stage. She's got the stage. It would be tempting.
1914. In Berlin. Damn, damn, damn. It felt wonderful to curse where his mother couldn't hear him. At home, he wasn't even allowed to say a single damn. But out here on Dunhoff Square, Albert could curse as much as he wanted. Mademoiselle didn't understand German anyway. She'd only ask, Albert, qu'est-ce que tu dis, mon petit? If his nanny hadn't been so pretty, Albert would have been embarrassed to be out with her in public. There may be people in Cambodia or Alaska who have never heard of Dunhoff Square, and for those underprivileged creatures, here is some useful information. On the Berlin city map of 1914, Dunhoff Square appeared as a small yellow-green spot in the business district. For the children of the neighborhood, it was the only piece of nature for miles around. There were a few stately trees, some carefully tended and fenced lawns on which it was strictly forbidden to walk, and symmetrically arranged flower beds in which each little bulb had been planted precisely, if not lovingly. They had probably been told, now behave yourselves and flower according to the rules. It didn't cheer Albert in the least that in that afternoon, Mademoiselle made him conjugate vouloir, a more regular verb. He had already learned all the forms of être. He didn't know how to express the thought, but he was convinced of a basic difference between vouloir and être, between to want and to be. 1917, Berlin. The boys in the 7th grade at the Royal Friedrich Wilhelm Gymnasium were at the age which, according to experts, they had the greatest capacity to acquire knowledge, while simultaneously offering the greatest resistance to it. Their class had never been a showcase of academic magnificence, and this winter term was no exception. The classroom was unheated. Ice crystals in interesting shapes had formed on the windows, inspiring the physics teacher to enthusiastic explanations. But that was the only use these crystals had. The boys sat in their overcoats, listlessly tapping the floor with the wooden soles of their shoes to keep their feet warm. Neither the rutabaga soup and the sawdust bread, nor the disgusting new artificial sweetener called saccharin, could provide the energy they needed. Professor Stender, who taught mathematics, didn't even attempt to instill the basics in his restless pupils. Albert tried to find a spot on his desk where he could carve his name with his pocket knife. Generations of students had immortalized themselves that way. Once he found room for his name, he encountered another difficulty. His name had far too many round letters, which made the knife skip in the grain of the wood. He noticed his seatmate smirking at his effort, wearing a superior grin on his face. I'm gonna fix him, he thought. I'll carve my name in Hebrew letters. And he did. Almost all the letters of the Hebrew alphabet are angular, with straight horizontal lines. The letters are also extremely patient, having survived many thousands of years, and therefore submitted to his efforts uncomplainingly. At home, the long-discussed Hebrew teacher had arrived after Mademoiselle left. He didn't live with the family the way Mademoiselle had, but he visited 3 times a week, which was bad enough. Albert opposed this indoctrination with all his might. He hadn't been born in a ghetto, nor had he ever lived in one. He couldn't understand why he should value his Jewish identity above everything else. He understood even less why he should feel closer to a Jewish boy in Poland or Lithuania, a boy whose language he didn't understand, than to classmates he had known since the first grade. Why did everyone want to force him to be something he didn't want to be? Those snobs in his class on one hand, and Mr. Velba, the Hebrew teacher, on the other. Who in the hell cared whether someone was a Jew, a Catholic, a Protestant? And how could you even tell what religion someone belonged to just by looking at them? Albert went to the kitchen to ask someone who should know. Tell me, Mina, can people tell that I'm Jewish? Do I look Jewish? He asked. Mina thought long and hard and said, yes. But how? No way I'm telling you that, said Mina, and blushed a bright red. World War I in progress still. 1918 in school. Every baby in diaper knows that we've lost the war, right? It gave Borg special satisfaction to make the statement. The year before, he had paid a heavy price for echoing his father's opinion on the subject. Professor Binderlein had been using maps, projecting the future configuration of Europe, and to make strategic projections in geography. Borg, instead of obediently tracing Binderlein's border with carbon paper, and thus fabricating an image of Germany after the war that would resemble the circus elephant with an outstretched trunk pointing east, had dared to ask